Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Well, hey Bingothon. This is a Final Fantasy IV free enterprise bingo. Your racers are going to be JJBlu, Sonny Wrath 11, Xyrak, and Keddril. I'm Invenerable. I'll be commentating along with Smapety. Anyone have a few words you want to say before we get you off to your misery?
Hang on. I am betting that JJBlu is going to win. So that is my host bet. I said it.
Rooting for JJ. I don't know. I know
I'll take you
Sonny's
up
been
on that.
practicing lately.
Good luck to everybody and myself because I'm here with an hour of sleep, so we'll see what happens.
So JJ, when you stop moving halfway through the run, we'll just know that you fell asleep on your Super Nintendo.
Yeah. We'll just have
No, my
QQ
character will
over and
start
poke him.
spasming.
We'll send you a bunch of Discord notifications.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oh. Yeah, and I'm actually going to be completely honest. I practiced for this and forgot that this was today. So, yeah.
Excellent.
That's the best preparation you can have for a marathon. So I don't see anything going wrong.
Nope. For sure.
Things will go well. Practice is overrated. Play from the heart.
It does look like the cropping is a little different on the four of them, but I'm sure y'all can get that fixed when they get out to a map and start running with it. In the meantime, if the four of you are ready, we can certainly get a countdown, kick you four out of here so you don't hear us spoiling what you're all running to and fro doing,
Yep.
and get things off. Just a reminder, we do have, just to go over the colors again, we do have JJ purple, Keddril green, Sonny Wrath is the pink, and Xyrak is in the orange. So it is triple bingo, and Defeat Zeromus is the center square, so we will be seeing the Zeromus sprite at some point here. And yeah, should be fun watch. Any of you in particular want to do the countdown for our racers?
No.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna drop out, guys, and we'll see you at the end.
Well, wait, Xyrak.
Wait.
Oh,
Let's
you're gonna
do
get
the
the countdown
countdown.
in here first? Okay.
Yeah, we'll do the countdown in here,
Cool.
and then you can all skedaddle. Okay.
Sounds good.
Great. Yeah.
All right. Let's get this race started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
See y'all on the other side.
Boy.
And there's our card. Excellent.
Yeah, nice little card. We do have. Well, let's see what the characters and key item are for the in-game situation. That's an edge.
That is not a bad character to get there.
Pan also very nice. Going to want to make our way underground to get those checks in a hurry. But then, as far as the triple bingo, let's shall we take the rundown on the goals there, Smape?
Sounds like a good idea. We have a couple that are involved talking to Naming Way here. Finish talking to Naming Way, and I believe there is also Visit 5 Naming Ways there on the board as well.
Yeah, so very convenient to knock out both of those. They don't share a row or a column, but they are ones that you could still tentatively plan to do, just depending on if you're wanting to knock out that top left to bottom right diagonal, maybe along with either row 2 or column 5. Lots of little boss checks as well. Beat Wyvern, defeat 10 bosses, defeat Zeromus, kill Octomammoth. Visiting Rydia's mom requires finding the Mist Dragon and beating it first. So a few little boss checks we have to make as well.
Yeah, and a lot of traveling around, things like visiting all 8 crystal rooms. That's going to require them to go all over this game in order to get to those locations. And then visiting the top of Mount Ordeals with Pally Cecil. It's in the corner there, so it could be a crucial space for a number of bingo formations. And that's usually a location most runners try to avoid going to, if at all necessary, just because the amount of length involved with the 3 boss fights, the cutscene and everything that you have to go through. You usually don't want to go to Ordeals unless you have a good reason to go there.
Yeah, I will add though that one thing about this particular flag set our racers are using tonight is that because they have so many other bonus tasks from the bingo card, the flags are relatively forgiving. Key items are only going to be at their vanilla spots plus the Mist Dragon wherever it's hiding. So we don't have to worry about going through we don't have to worry about doing all the summon quests. We don't have to worry about checking every lunar altar. We probably don't have to worry about going to the giant, things of that nature. So that makes some of these tiles less appealing. Like defeating the Town of Monsters bosses, those are 2 rude bosses, and they're not going to be gating anything key item wise, at least.
Yeah, definitely one. I know that you in the past have been an advocate of skipping those 2 bosses in the past in Venerable. So I'm I'm sure you're going to be looking for our runners to give that one a pass as well.
Yeah. Other notable things about the flag set: this is being run on version 3 of the randomizer, not the new 4.0 beta, just because the creator of this particular bingo format hasn't really had the opportunity to dive into the beta, create new goals that correspond with all these new features. I'm sure next year we'll have something that really dives into that. But for now, we're running S3 and T4. That means that treasure chests can have any loot in the game. We could find adamant armors, we could find crystal swords, and shops won't have quite anything on that level, but they're going to have a whole lot of goodies for our characters to use.
Yeah, already I'm noticing here in Damsian Basement, there's a Stardust Rod. That is something Rydia is going to really, really love, especially early on. Just being able to use that to get the comet equivalent spell will be a lot of damage here early. A very nice multi-target hitting attack there. So yeah, just that kind of loot can be in any chest here. So it's going to incentivize maybe checking a few more chests than you ordinarily might want to.
Absolutely. And of course, with the bingo board, we don't have the key item tracker that we have up in a lot of other races. So pay close attention to what people are getting. We did see a starting pan. Got to get underground to get use out of that. We did see a spoon here, which ironically guarded by an Edward turning into Valvolus. So you have that weapon for either throwing or for putting on Eddie. There's no duplication glitch on for weaponry, so you're not going to be able to just have a huge stack of spoons to throw, unfortunately for our runners.
Yeah, in fact, was that a... Oh, no, it looks like... I thought he reset after seeing that spoon, which was a little surprising, but no, just a little bit of a visual glitch there is taking the Edward with the spoon. For those that are unfamiliar with some of the changes that we've made in Free Enterprise here, turning the spoon flag on allows what is normally just a throwable item to become an equipable item by Edward. Only gives him a little more use than he might normally have in a given run, because the spoon has 255 attack power, which is the highest value attack power weapon in the game. Turns Edward into the very definition of a glass cannon.
Oh yeah, you're not going to have a lot of defense on him unless we find one of those vaunted adamant armors lying around somewhere. But he can still hit very hard even from the back row. He comes back row glitch by default because of his harp, which means he can hit full damage, any weapon, front row, back row. So that spoon will definitely let him dish out the pain pretty early this run.
Yeah, but we're seeing several fragile characters here. Well, relatively so. Edge, excuse me, maybe not the most fragile character, but we have that space on there with having a character with more than 3,000 HP. Not likely to see that with any of the 3 characters that we've recruited so far.
Oh yeah, Edge is a great character, but even he doesn't break that 3,000 HP barrier until pretty late in the game. Let me pull up the character chart. I'm just curious, actually, now that you've mentioned that, how many levels it would take, because I think it's well past that level 50 character requirement in the bottom right. Yeah,
I'm going to say
Edge,
62.
He can possibly hit 3,000 at level 56. On average, he has it at 57, and he's guaranteed to have it by level 59. Which,
I went a little too high.
More grinding than anyone here wants to do. So we'd definitely like to see a Sid, a Yong, a Cecil, a Kane, one of them just for that HP tile on the board.
Yeah, and that definitely sort of ties into something you were talking about earlier about that defeat Zeromus being in the center there and going to be on the mind of all of our runners here. Ordinarily, you would think having a level 50 character may be a foregone conclusion, when you're going into the end here, but especially since we've got that T4 flag on where all of these incredibly high value treasures are going to be available. Most runners are able to beat Zeromus at levels far, far lower than level 50 if they have access to that kind of gear. So might not, unless they get a Fusoya who starts at level 50, which would give them automatic completion of that square, might not see our runners actually getting that high level in order to beat this game.
Yeah. Keddril notably dipping into the Troya Crystal Room, a place that I don't think I ever see anyone go unless they are, in fact, doing bingo. All 8 crystal rooms, one of the visit requirements here, so it's kind of funny to actually be like, oh yeah, there is a door back there, isn't there?
Yeah, if you ever want to see the light of the crystal shimmering silently, you can always go back there and double check and make sure everything's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, by the way, with the Zeromus thing. J spells are on in this flag set, so that means that Rydia and Rosa don't learn Nuke and Holy until level 55 or so. So long grind if you want to get the spells on them for that kind of strats. And if you're doing Zerker strats, well, we've already seen a Ninja Blade for Edge. We have a lightsaber in Dancian. There was a Holy Lance, White Spear on Rosa's mom's bookshelf. So, yeah, if we get bruisers, they will bruise.
Yeah, I did see on Xyrak's inventory, not sure where exactly it was picked up, but there is an Excalibur in play and available somewhere early. So if Cecil does show up and they do decide to go make him a Paladin, which high incentive to do so, what with the space available for that, and the Excalibur being in play, then that is going to be an amazing frontline attacker there.
And I believe JJBlu is about to mark off our first tile. Does find a very free, very available Fusoya up on Mount Hobbs. That's a level 50 character. He may not realize it quite yet that is one of his tiles, but we can go ahead and make that mental note that JJBlu and anyone who goes to Hobbs will get that bottom right tile activated very quickly.
Yeah, most certainly. And that's a very, very easy location to get there. Most people make the check on Mount Hobbs early to try to get that character there. Fusoya, a phenomenal character to get this early in the game. There is a special flag on called the Fusoya Challenge, which means that he doesn't come at his full strength when he's first recruited. Instead, you build him up gradually where he learns a trio of spells every time you beat a boss. But even with that restriction, Fusoya is just a phenomenal character to pick up.
Oh yeah, like there's so many relatively free boss spots early in the overworld, and as soon as you get even a single tier 2 spell on him, especially with that Stardust Rod we have kicking around, the Lunar Sage will be doing work this seed. Although I do feel a little bad for our other racers that JJ has not marked that off, because that's one of those things where when you see a tile on a bingo board that says have a level 50 character get marked off at the 10-minute mark, every one of our racers will immediately know there's a foo, and there is a very readily available foo. Let me go find this foo. But they're doing these fights a little sooner without the benefit of the of that particular character.
Either that or JJ's holding on to some incredibly powerful power leveling strats that he is not letting anybody else know.
Yeah, no one else knows. Discovering it here first.
So you see Leviathan here in Antlion Cave. Very often you'll see people be an early check here for people. You get a key item spot here with a relatively easy to defeat boss, only about 1,000 HP at this spot. And the other thing, especially on this T4 flag set, is the Antlion Cave is stuffed to the brim with treasure chests. So that you can often get a lot of great stuff here. And the fan favorite item available in Antlion, it's the Twin Harp.
Oh yeah, one of the best features of the game is that the Twin Harp songs are randomized as well. You don't just get Edward's theme, you get something from another, maybe classic to you, maybe less well-known game that has been turned into harp music. And I'm excited about the new 4.0 release. There is a new member of the dev team entirely devoted to making Twin Harp songs called Calamity, and I'm anticipating a lot of new content with the beta.
Yeah,
when the beta goes for release.
So really quick, you guys are doing a fantastic job commentating, by the way. I just wanted to do a quick plug. I don't know if now is a good time or not.
Oh, always. You just let us know whenever you got something to say, Zed, and let it fly.
All right, thank you. So we're about like 11 minutes in the run, and I know that the donation amount we are currently at, which is $420, it's very beautiful. But dear viewers, we are really raising funds for a great cause here. We are raising funds for Pure Earth, who want to make the Earth a cleaner and safer space, and every little dollar helps. I am on hosting shift for another 30 minutes, and the person who breaks the curse of the $420, I will change my name to, so that your name is honored on stream for the rest of my hosting shift. And if you need some motivation to donate, there are some upcoming goals and bid wars for the next run after this one. We have Nier Automata, and that one is for wearing the DLC costume. Still $93 to go. Well, if we meet that donation incentive, we also meet $500. I would love to see $500 during Final Fantasy IV. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the free enterprise community, we also love our memes chat, but think more about the fundraiser than enjoying the memes, at least for the weekend. All right. I like, by the way, Smape, I noticed that our other 3 racers all picked up their foos as well, and that kind of prompted JJ to be like, oh yeah, he's level 50. Like, what's everyone marking off on the board that I've... Oh yeah, there we go. JJ actually making a dip here into the lake passage. A few more chests here. Again, T4, they're not weighted any better necessarily than anywhere else. But if you find that adamant armor that no one else does, you're going to be in great shape to just steamroll the seed. Sonny and Keddril, meanwhile, are probably about to give us our first peek at what lies here in the football gauntlet space. Takes a little moment for the attack to begin.
And it looks like it's going to be a lunar boss of some sort. It's D-Lunar. That is definitely a fight you like to see earlier rather than later.
Oh yeah, any pack that has multiple parts that can actually well on you is a little obnoxious. This not a bad fight early. Edge's Flame Spell will do good work here. If Sonny has that Stardust Rod, it will probably clean up the rest of the fight. They'll have only a little over 900 HP apiece here, I believe. 800 900, and that fight's over.
Yeah, no problem there. What makes that fight so dangerous is the AI script for the D-Lunars changes if you target them with a physical attack. They will, and as we can actually see that happening on Keddril's screen here, they will wall themselves up and start reflecting the virus spell off themselves. It'll hit very, very hard and become very, very difficult to deal with. But yeah, cleaning that up here, not a problem in this space with the low HP totals that they have, but if you run into that somewhere actually on the moon, that can be one difficult fight to get through.
And we do get the magma key for our trouble here. Kind of a cheeky location for it to be, given that we have that starting pan. I know that when I get the early pan, I kind of try to condense all my Fabul visits into one. And if you were to do that this time, you would be sorely disappointed. So yeah, getting that underground access gives us access to a lot of key item checks, a lot more shop checks, a lot of loot. Always good to find that magma key early.
Yeah, right, you are. There are 3 different key item spots that are in Fabul here. One from defeating the Fabul Defense boss spot, and 2 held by Sheila. One that you have access to after talking to Yang in the Underworld. The second one comes after hitting Yang with a pan in the Underworld. So the worst case scenario is you have to visit Fabul 3 times to get all its checks, but the dream is to get that 3-in-1. Not possible to do tonight. Oh, was that an adamant armor that he found in Fabul?
It is. Keddril and JJ both picking up that adamant armor in the throne room triple chest. Very nice for them.
So tell me, Inven, what is so great about this adamant armor we've been talking about?
It is probably the most overpowered piece of gear that you will find in a Final Fantasy game. It's very rare in vanilla. You have to fight the rarest monster pack on the room and get their rarest drop, and then you turn it into the tail. You turn a pink tail in, you get an adamant armor. Here on the high value flag sets, the high gear flag sets, you can just find them lying around. They give you pretty much defensive immunity, elemental immunity. There's some bosses that can still punch you pretty hard, even with the adamant armor. Plus 15 all stats. It's a little ridiculous. Like if you're a mage, you can wear it, and all of a sudden you are no longer squishy, and your spells wreck. If you're a physical fighter, you're now hitting much faster, much harder. You always love to see an adamant armor.
Yeah, there is one drawback to the adamant armor, and it comes sort of a function of the fact that this game is held together with duct tape and prayers on the inside. But if you ever take the adamant armor off of somebody, the elemental halving that you would have from having the elemental from the adamant armor on turns into a permanent elemental weakness. So when you put the adamant armor on somebody, you kind of want to commit to somebody that you're going to want to keep it on for at least a long time. It can really hurt if you you swap it around and you come across a boss with elemental attacks and suddenly they're nailing your former adamant armor user for quite a high amount of damage. But it's the one thing you have to keep in mind when you do get that adamant armor.
Yeah. Conveniently enough, though, the final boss of the game, Zeromus, does not use elemental attacks. It uses non-elemental and, well, holy elemental attacks. So if you get to that fight and you're worried about it, don't. Move it over to whichever character gets the most value out of it. You will not regret it. So I am a little sad, by the way, that this did end up being a magma key seed. That's the easy way underground. There is a harder path. Do you want to talk about the hook route and what you have to go through if that's your path?
Sure, absolutely. So if you played the original Final Fantasy IV, you may remember that you have to go back into the underworld on 2 different occasions. Once using the magma key, the other time you have to go through Eblin Cave. It's normally referred to in the community as the hook route, and that's because you need to get the hook in order to pick up the hovercraft and bring it over to the Eblin continent. But once you go, going through there is significantly more difficult than using the magma key because you have to fight 2 bosses that have relatively tough stat lines. You have to fight them back to back. You can save in between, and in fact, the second boss since it's normally the Rubicante spot, will give you a free storyline heal to your party. But if certain bosses get rolled in those spots, they can be incredibly nasty and make it very difficult to actually get into the underground in the first place, especially since there are very limited options available for grinding levels on the overworld. It's really not until you get the underworld that the ability to really kind of power your characters up comes into play.
And conveniently enough, the hook was the Sheila 1 item, the Baron Key, the Sheila 2 item. That means that even if you, like me, had tried to put off the bull, you would not have gotten waylaid to the degree of going all the way underground through the hook path just to find the magma key back in Fabul. So very kind of Sheila to hold on to that until we were already underground.
And we've got a wyvern sighting. It's the first boss up on Ordeals, quickly taken care of by JJBlu. So that's another feather in his bingo cap.
Oh yeah, and Golbez right after. This is hilarious.
That's a spicy Ordeals.
Yeah, there is a flag our racers are using. It's there are boss safeties in place that guarantee that you have a path underground, which does not require fighting Golbez, Wyvern, Valvolus, or the boss in the Odin spot. Just to keep some of the nastiest ones from gating your way underground. And 2 of those 3 are here on Ordeals. We saw a third one. Valvolus was in the Baron Inn. So all these rude bosses just hanging out on the overworld, but not actually blocking the way underground. Kind of cheeky of a seed here.
Yeah, and a lot of the danger of Golbez is mitigated by that adamant armor that we have on Edge here. You can see that during this cutscene here, Golbez will paralyze essentially your entire party, and then will summon the Shadow Dragon that will knock you down to only 2 playable characters remaining on the field. Well, Edge can't be targeted by that instant kill attack from the dragon, and cannot be paralyzed by Golbez's hold gas. So he's able to set up. Golbez will only use magic attacks from now on. So he's throwing that Star Veil out, which puts the reflect status on him. That means anything Golbez throws at Edge is going to go right back to Golbez, and he shouldn't have any trouble mopping this up from here.
Oh yeah. Adamant armor is basically easy mode. That's one reason that you've seen in a lot of the high level tournament play lately. It's been removed from the game, just because it's so overpowered, and if you get it, then you can kind of just cruise control the rest of the seed. But in Bingo, I really like it because there's so much that you have to cover that it's more about optimizing your route rather than just, getting lucky with the boss spots.
Yeah, right you are.
Speaking of the Bingo, we have had a few more tiles lit up. We did have Xyrak drink from the Dwarven pot with the spoon. That will, of course, remind all other racers that that's very available to them. Xyrak actually got the white shirt and the black shirt at the same time on his Iridia and his Fu. And keddril has actually stayed at 5 different ends. JJ's over here forgetting to mark things off again, though. JJ has beaten the Wyvern there in row 1, column 2. We'll see if he remembers to mark that off again once someone else activates it.
Ooh, and he is granted the Darkest Crystal. That is not only an additional character, but just flat out access to everything on the moon. So that is big. That essentially means if there's anything gating it on the moon, Ordeals is required by all our players.
Yeah, it's unlikely. We are playing with only the vanilla key item spots, so there are no key items on the moon unless the Mist Dragon is hiding there. Vanilla, if you're playing with the, basic flags, you would get a free item from Edward in the Troya bed. That's a little too easy for these racers. They have made it to where it's not a free key item. You do have to hunt down Mist Dragon. And that's also one of our required tiles, in fact, I believe. Visit Rydia's mom, row 3, column 1.
Yeah, Rydia's mom will not show up unless the Mist Dragon is beaten. If you're playing it that way, you would beat Mist Dragon, go to see Rydia's mom, and she'll give you the key item that would normally be had by Edward and Bad and Troya. So that is the only way we're going to get her to show up, is if that particular boss is found.
Yeah, and Sonny joins the Adamant Armor Club. There's one in the triple chest location in Baron Castle as well. All these castles with their triple chest adamant armors. So he's now in good shape on that regard. Admittedly, the only thing better than 1 adamant armor is 2 adamant armors, but the leap from 0 to 1 is significant. Sonny's on pace now with JJ and keddril to just steamroll every fight.
Yeah, when you've got 2 powerhouse characters there in Fusoya and Edge, and honestly, you've got a 3rd powerhouse character in Edward as well when you have that spoon. So you're kind of set as far as damage is going to go for the rest of the game. Now it's just a matter of optimizing your routing, trying to pick out what you want to target on this board here, what you think you're going to get to the quickest, what kind of spots on here are going to synergize well with one another. It's really a routing game from here on out, and it'll be very interesting to see how these runners approach that.
Yeah, and of course, going to the moon, although it won't have any key items unless there's Mist Dragon, well, row 4 does have collect 5 character spots and also visit all 8 crystal rooms. So, crystal room, of course, in the Lunar Palace. It's also a character spot. That will be getting filled out very soon here.
Yeah, we also have that shop available on the moon, so could be some useful gear there or something that they might want to buy. Let's see. I know there was one spot on here for buying out everything. Was it specifically an equipment shop?
There's one to buy everything, a 10 stack of all items in an armor shop.
In an armor shop. Okay, so yeah, the moon wouldn't work for that.
Yeah,
but still could possibly
tricky
have some consumables.
With that S3 flag on, because a lot of shops will have really good gear. So to actually buy 10 stacks of everything, there's even one expensive piece of gear there. Any of the Dragoon armors or any of the Crystal armors. All of a sudden, we're going to need a lot of cash to pull that off.
And Xyrak coming in to have a sip from the Dwarven pot as well. Good idea to keep this pot in mind as well. It's often one of the quickest and easiest ways to get your team refreshed if you're hunting bosses in the underworld. Very, very quick to just get in, get the quick refresh, get out. Don't have to sit through any lengthy in animations or anything like that.
JJ here, gonna go by the Hummingway shop right quick, see what they have for sale. There is one actual naming way here that will count towards the talk to 5. But can you find it in this haystack? Looks like JJ's not even going to bother. Like, no, I know where they are on Earth. We'll wrap that up later.
Yeah, the rest of those are humming ways, not naming ways. Very, very, very important distinction there.
And our host for this run, Zet, in the chat, having some internet difficulties, but I will reiterate something that Zet said earlier, and that's that there are currently incentives in play for subsequent runs. There's one notably for the Nier Automata run to use an alternate DLC costume, and although the current donation total is very nice and meme-worthy, would really like to see that number go up this run. Pure Earth, great charity. So don't hold back just because it's a cheeky dollar amount right now.
Yeah, we can always screenshot the dollar value and hold on to that memory.
Exactly. The VODs will be there.
So Xyrak, going into the Dwarf Castle fights here, normally it's 2 fights, but now there's going to be a third added because the Dr. Luge fight is actually split into 2, but shouldn't be any problem whatsoever. About 9,000 HP in this first spot. That's going to be split 3 ways. So, yeah, mopping that up with very little issue.
Yeah. There is a cute combination of tiles on this bingo board, by the way. I'd like to point out the combination of loot exactly 1k gold in 5 chests, along with the equip 25 different named items on your party members. Like, if you're wondering why is everyone still doing all this looting when they already have, gear that's plenty good enough to actually beat the game, well, we still have to work on getting that triple bingo. Those are great tiles to get, and a kind of a thing that's a little behind the scenes is that the pass flag our Racers is using is the PT, the treasure chest pass flag. You want to talk about what the pass does on Free Enterprise and why that would be a big find for any of our Racers?
Certainly. So ordinarily the pass was sort of a Easter egg item in the original Final Fantasy IV. Lets you get into the back rooms in Troya and get an extra scene and everything like that. It's been repurposed in Free Enterprise to be a immediate warp to the final boss. So if you go turn in the pass like you normally would in Troya, instead it takes you on a teleporter that sends you right to Zeromus, so you don't have to go through the entirety of the lunar subterrane and take what's commonly referred to as the Walk of Shame all the way down through the lunar core to Zeromus. It's a much, much quicker way to not only get to Zeromus, but to also recoup and get right back into the fight if you take a wipe on Zeromus, which is entirely possible, given his bevy of very hard-hitting attacks. So finding the pass is always nice, because you know that you're going to be cutting out several minutes from your time, knowing that you're not going to have to go all the way through the subterranean to get to the final boss.
Just a quick note here. Right after my plug was over, around 15 minutes ago, my internet dropped out, and it seems as though I have missed a lot from the race. However, what I did not miss was a raise in the donation counter, and that's what I'm a bit upset about, because I hoped that I would miss to read out a few donations. So chat and viewers, if you would like to change that, have me read a few donations, then get your donations in.
Listen to Zet, chat. Listen to Zet. JJ, by the way, finally making his way underground. Although, I wish I could say for sure where he is in some of these places on the board. I'm pretty sure he's not done 5 character spots quite yet. Did find a Yang on the moon. I know he's beaten Wyvern. So yeah, a few spots not marked off quite yet there.
Yeah, that Yang is a significant pickup too. With that character with more than 3k HP, Yang is one of the characters that can easily reach that total. He has a very, very strong HP growth, so he should be hitting that as the rest of his characters approach the 30s, 40s. Yang will be getting to that HP total very, very easily.
Oh yeah, he is guaranteed to hit 3,000 by level 42. Of course, there are gold and silver apples, these Japanese exclusive items that have been added back into Free Enterprise, so will not be difficult for Yang to hit that total.
Oh, and it looks like JJ is checking. No?
Oh, so rude.
Oh.
Speaking of special Easter eggs that we love, commentator extraordinaire of Free Enterprise, Rex Raoul, made the suggestion that, you know that dwarf that just in vanilla says, "I am a farmer"? Why not give it a new temp job every week? So, JJ denying us the temp job dwarf's current employment situation. But oh well. You know, everyone here wants to win this. It's a fun race for charity, but they all have pride on the line.
Yeah, when we randomize everything in Free Enterprise, we randomize every Free Enterprise. Oh, heading to the Fey March here. So not only is this a free key item check here, but we do also have those 2 bosses that are in the Land of Summoned Monsters here that can check over here at the Leviathan and Asura spot. See if there might be any free bosses you might be able to knock off and get that bingo space knocked off.
Oh yeah, JJ found hourglasses for sale on the moon. They do a relatively long form stop on any monster vulnerable to it. And it's very possible that we see... Oh, and there's the pass, by the way. 3 passes in treasure chest, there's one of them. So JJ is on top of the world right now with a lot of great loot finds.
Yeah, definitely found a lot of the really useful key items, finding some of the great consumables. Yeah, a lot of things going right for JJ at this point.
And speaking of there it is, we have something. There it is. 1056 bit the bullet and donated $10 towards Pure Earth, saying, "Guess it's time to break the mem." Meme, or is it a meme to say mem? I don't know. But thank you so much for the donation. I know it is kind of sad to see the 420 go, but we have to let go of 420 eventually to reach 500, which is our next long-term goal. And now we are at $430. So now you don't have anything holding you back for donating anymore. So keep them donations coming, chat.
And big thanks to everybody who's been donating to the cause. Really appreciate it. And yeah, now that the meme barrier is down, so let them all come in now.
And Xyrak, by the way, being the people's hero, talks to the job dwarf. The dwarf today is a procurement clerk. I have no idea what a procurement clerk does, but I'm just glad that our dwarf friend has a job this week.
Probably involves numbers. Speaking of numbers, we've got that count ability from Plague going out. Plague being one of the bosses in the Feymarch throne room here. This is a kind of a gimmick fight. He'll put the death sentence status on all of your characters at the beginning of the fight. It counts down for 10 ticks and then kills your character. So what you want to try to do is either A, do enough damage that you can just kill Plague before the death ticks on all of your characters, or B, try to interrupt the flow of it by, say, killing off one of your characters. That looks like that's the rat the JJBlu's coming off. Then you can revive them. If Plague senses that there is a character out there that doesn't have the status on them, it will recast it with another use of that count spell. And then you can just keep doing that over and over until the fight is done. So now this is actually a really good situation for JJ. It might look bad because he's got 3 characters down here, but every time he revives one of those characters, it's going to have Plague reset that count on all of them. So he's got several chances now to get that reset whenever he feels it necessary.
Oh yeah, Plague is one of those fights that I like to say is terrifying when you first start playing Free Enterprise, and then utterly trivial once you have enough hours under your belt, just because there are a variety of strategies that you can take advantage of in this fight, and once you have those mastered, not nearly as scary.
Yeah, it's one of those fights that really was sort of designed in the original game to sort of show off what they could do with their new ATB system. And as a result of that, really rewards players for kind of mastering the ATB system in this game and understanding it, realizing what they can do, what they can get away with, what they can manipulate. So it ends up being like really interesting to sort of learn how to navigate.
Keddril, by the way, being a little cheeky, I see an adamant armor sitting in his inventory, just completely unused at the bottom of it. Like, come on. That's the big bada boom. Put that on someone.
Speaking of inventory, we have another $5 in our inventory donated by Spice Girls, saying putting 5 on keddril. So these $5 to bet that keddril will make the race. Thank you very much, Spice Girls, for that awesome donation.
And not just that, but keddril also here about to be the People's Champion. Keddril is our audio source right now, is heading to Cave Magnus. We are going to be hearing that Twin Harp song pretty soon.
That is excellent. And as Invenerable mentioned earlier, the song that's played by Edward is randomized from a selection of MIDI harp, what's the word I'm looking for, arrangements that have been put into the game. So there are a number of familiar tunes you might possibly hear when Edward decides to play his music to defeat the Dark Elf, or whoever the Dark Elf ends up being today.
Who are you
Harp
really?
arrangements.
Also-
Only somebody could play that on real harp. Sorry.
I mean, that was a very appropriate interlude right before this run. It was really cool to see.
Thanks.
And Xyrak finding an interesting thing here in Village Mist. Turning in the package, an item that just gets you a character and a boss fight, does not gate a key item, but Cecil's the character there. We have Visit the Top of Mount Ordeals with Pally Cecil. We still haven't seen a Mist Dragon. Xyrak hasn't seen Wyvern. So Xyrak actually taking the time to do this makes a lot of sense for the sake of filling out multiple bingo squares. And also we get to see the actual crystal burn down the Village of Mist. You don't see that often either.
Absolutely. Another benefit here is Xyrak does have that Excalibur, which is one of the best weapons in the game. It's the second best weapon Cecil that can equip. And when he becomes a paladin and has that Excalibur in his hand, turns him into a massive physical attacker. Not that Xyrak's really hurting, or any of our runners really are hurting for attack damage in this party setup, but it's just going to add to his the power that his team currently has.
Yeah, Excal flat out second strongest, well, excluding the spoon, excluding memes, Excal's second strongest weapon in the vanilla game, another adamant armor, by the way, for Sonny Wrath, right behind actually still pretty far behind the Crystal Sword. Just Cecil gets ridiculously overpowered weapons, so adding him to the party, gonna be a good thing. We did mention earlier that the hook route is a little ruder, but we do have bingo squares that require it. Column 1, row 2, right on all vehicles, including chocobos. That includes the Falcon, which the only way to get is to take this hook route. And of course, we could end up seeing a Mist Dragon down here. And there's also one of the 8 crystal rooms. So 2 reasons minimum to come through here. And luckily, that Rubicon fight is just the Dark Imps. Going to be very easy for any of our racers to break through here.
Yeah, the Dark Imps, they can be a tricky fight under certain flag sets. Not particularly this one, since we have the we don't have the boss bit turned off for the bosses. That means that those that are not those that are susceptible to status effects still are susceptible to those effects, including hourglasses, which have been pretty abundant for our racers, which means you can just throw that at the beginning of the fight. The Dark Imps will be stopped for basically the entire fight and won't be able to do anything. So should be a pretty trivial encounter. The only thing is we do not know what boss is going to be before them and what is normally the King Queen Evelyn spot. But not interested in going down there to check. Just going to go ahead and zoom right on out of there.
Curious. We do, by the way, Sonny, of course, runs a lot of the Final Fantasy I randomizer, so he'll be having a little bit of flashbacks when he gets to this Twin Harp. We do have the Temple of Fiends music on the Twin Harp tonight, taking it back to Final Fantasy I. And Sonny's headed there now. He'll be getting a taste of that music. Dark Knight fight here, not so troublesome. Another one of those free boss aspects is that any scripted fight still retains its actual script. So you only have to endure 3 dark waves here, and you get a little speech about justice, and the fight is all done.
A quick note on the side. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
Go
good.
right ahead.
Just wanted to announce that we have another $10 donation from Cinyside, or Cinyside, don't know how to pronounce that name, without a comment. Thank you very much. And by donating $10, they got eligible for one of our prizes, which include a very awesome Bingothon mug, which I would love to drink my tea out of, a Chibi Robo fan art, 2 Xbox games, Halo and Jet Set Radio Future, both the PAL versions, and an original PAL SNES controller, which I think is compatible with any kind of SNES, but it has the cool colored buttons. So if you want any of these prices, $10 and they could be yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Cinecide. We do get the rat tail as the reward for clearing Cave Magnus. It looks like none of Keddril's characters know the exit spell yet. Food taking his sweet time learning exit, having to warp his way out of the cave. The tail is good to see, though. We do see a lot of our characters seem to be going for that bottom row on the bingo board, and rat tail is required for that. And if you collect 10 key items, you're probably finding both tails anyway. So very
Not to mention, if they find the pink tail, they get another adamant armor, and gosh, we sure could use some more of those, eh?
Oh, I miss adamant so much sometimes. They're so nice. Let's see if Xyrak.
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, go right ahead.
Oh, let's see if Xyrak beating Wyvern. Let's see if Xyrak remembers that's on the board, and if so, maybe that'll trigger JJBlu's memory and get him back to marking it off as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, while both Sonny Wrath and Keddril were fighting, were in Cave Magnus fighting Dark Knight Cecil, the actual Dark Elf has been over here in the Fey March. JJBlu fighting right now. Now, one of the interesting things about the Dark Elf, we sort of mentioned before that some bosses are susceptible to status effects. The Dark Elf, after he transforms into his dragon form, is susceptible to a lot of those status effects. So things such as hourglasses that inflict stop, can actually make that fight very, very easy to deal with after you've gotten past the first phase. And it looks like we've just got a ninja star. That's but that is both of those bosses complete. So that is going to put JJBlu as the first on the board for completing that square.
Yeah. And answer a couple questions in chat. Codazzler asking, do they need 2 lines to win? They are actually racing triple bingo. They need 1 row, 1 column, and 1 diagonal. And then Cinecide asking, how do you get 0 inventory and 0 gold? Well, to drop the gold count, you can just buy huge stacks of things, resell them for half price until you get all the way down to 0 gold. And then the main way to empty your inventory at that point would be probably to talk to the big chocobo in the lunar whale, and whatever remnants you have, stow them in the chocobo, and that should get you there if that's one of your targeted squares.
Yeah, not something we see often in Free Enterprise is the Fat Chocobo and the storage system that was here in Final Fantasy IV. In fact, most of the re-releases, you don't even. I think in the DS version you could even access the Fat Chocobo. They just gave you an infinite inventory. But yeah, you can store things with them and pick them up if you need them. So that would be one way to just clear out your inventory, however temporary it may be.
Xyrak has also forgotten that Beat Wyvern is one of those options on the bingo board. Which, that's one of the things that I always wondered whenever I would play bingo. Like, I'd never actually raced bingo. I have enjoyed playing this bingo format solo just to have a little more variety of things to explore and do in the game. Like, when you're racing, like, if you forget to mark it off, is that unfair to your opponents because they aren't realizing that, oh my goodness, there's a level 50 character around, there's a wyvern around? To what degree can you sandbag and be like, oh, I can just mark off everything at once, Like,
right.
or what are your rules on that, racers?
Speaking of rules,
go ahead.
Sorry. Speaking of rules, I have something that really rules because we have a $20 donation from Henry Ersatz saying, kudos to a great race, a great cause, and commentary from a great old friend. Keep it up, Dagmar. I mean, Smedpill. Smapadilla. Sorry, I can't. Thank you very much, Henry, for the $20. Really appreciate it. And, just a general reminder to the audience, we have some bid wars still ongoing for the next run. In fact, there is a bid war still pending for the DLC costume in Nier Automata. It is currently at $22 out of $100. This run is still about to take another 1.25 hours, so there is enough time to reach that goal. Only $78 to go. Keep them coming. You can do it. I believe in you.
Thanks so much, Henry. Love you, man.
Daw. We do have some pretty good progress on this bottom row, by the way. Sonirath has turned in both tails and collected 10 key items. First one of our racers to the 10 key item mark. Now, of course, the one Cecil we've seen is in kind of a cheeky, out-of-the-way location behind the package. Of course, there could be another one available. There's nothing here that involves requiring the giant. I'm trying to think of what character spots we've not seen so far.
We haven't seen the two characters that would be on top of Zot. And we haven't seen... I'm trying to think. We've seen... It's Rosa in Dwarf Castle. I think those might be the only 3 spots that we haven't seen.
I think so. So that's quite likely our only Cecil in the seed. The flag set our racers are using does not have any particular character restrictions, which means that of the 12 characters in the game, there are 13 spots. They should all be guaranteed to be at least one. So that could very well be our only Cecil, and Sonny's definitely looking to clear that row 5.
Yeah, to answer a question in chat, set aside, the reason it's worded like that is that as soon as you complete Mount Ordeals, all Cecils in the sealed become Paladins. They always start out any given seed as a Dark Knight, and then completing Mount Ordeals triggers them all to be Paladins. So if you recruit Cecil before you go to Mount Ordeals, he's a Dark Knight. If you go to that same recruitment spot after you've done Mount Ordeals, he's a Paladin. To specify that objective for that on that specific space, you need to actually go to Ordeals while he's a Paladin. So either take Dark Knight Cecil to there and be there as he transforms into a Paladin, or if you recruit him later after he's a Paladin, go back and visit there. The idea being that you want to try to maybe avoid going to Ordeals until you have Cecil to avoid having a double back.
Hey, Xyrak remembered that he fought Wyvern. Maybe that'll, let's see if JJ remembers that now too.
To be fair, it's not an especially trolly Wyvern like it tends to be, so maybe not as memorable as some other Wyverns we've run into in the past.
Yeah, and I may be giving our racers a little bit of flack, but it is, in all honesty, kind of tricky to keep track of all 25 objectives on a bingo board, especially when you're thinking like, oh, I have to worry about this key item count, I have to worry about finding this and that and this and that it can be very easy to overlook one of them. Okay, there's the purple. Yeah, that did remind JJ. I wonder if Xyrak and JJ both think that the other one just did Ordeals when neither one has been there in probably about 12, 15 minutes. Well, JJ even longer.
Yeah, you got to imagine how much metagaming is going on with that bingo card. But yeah, I think this puts Xyrak in a really strong position here. Going and picking up that Cecil is pretty unconventional. A lot of people don't like sitting through the package like that. So that gives him that bottom left corner. Collecting 10 key items and both tails as a result of that is going to sort of come just from the exploration. So if I were him, I would be thinking, okay, I've got this bottom row unlock. I need to work to getting the left column and then that diagonal going into that Cecil play. Like that would be what I'd be thinking too, because those all seem like objectives that maybe don't directly complement each other, but can all be got to relatively easily from the position that he's in.
Yeah, and in fact, let's do a little strategizing here, Smape. I 100% like the bottom row here. Of all the rows, I like it a lot. I don't like Rydia's mom because Mist Dragon could be somewhere really rude. We've not seen it yet. Could be in the giant. Could be in any lunar boss spot. Hunting down Mist Dragon for Rydia's mom does not seem appealing at all. Column 1, row 1, looting exactly 1,000 gold and 5 chests. That seems 1, awkward to keep track of, and 2, may not even be available. There could be fewer than 5 chests in the seed with exactly that amount. Row 2, not so bad, but again, we've not seen Octomammoth, and with this team, it may be a little tricky to knock it down to where only there's 1 tentacle showing. Of course, Octomammoth starts with 8, loses 1 tentacle after 3 hits, 1 again after each 2 more hits, all the way down to 1. And then for row 4, both that inventory gold and the 25 different named items just seems so troublesome. I'm definitely eyeing row 5. Which column do you like?
Yeah, the columns, again, Rydia's mom makes the first column very, very awkward. So yeah, I would tend to avoid that unless I happen to run into the Mist Dragon somewhere just while checking other spaces. If that does happen, then then column 1 looks great. Column 2 is not too bad on itself. You've got to defeat the monster bosses in the land of summoned monsters there. But now that you've seen that one of our runners has done it, that's kind of like a metagame thing where I'd be thinking, okay, well, it can't be anything too rough there because somebody's already completed at this point. So not a terrible column in and of itself either. I would avoid column 3, like just for the same reason you said, that loot exactly 1k gold and 5 chests. That's really not something you can prepare for. It's just something that may happen, and you may not even notice if it does happen. So column 3 would be out for me if I were going to be looking at these columns. Column 4, a little annoying with having to deliver the Legend and Adamant to Kokol, especially when we know the Excalibur's already out there. Getting a second one with only one Cecil in play, not the best, though I guess you can throw it with Edge to get some extra damage in. It takes a little bit of time, but again, if those key items are going to show up in the 10 that I'm going to be getting anyway, we can go ahead and do that. Honestly, column 5, considering how much has already been done in there, the after 30 minutes have no inventory and 0 gold is awkward, but since everything else is going to happen almost incidentally, except for, going out of your way to visit the 5 naming ways, I, especially if I'm Xyrak, might be looking there for my vertical instead. Like, if we're not going out of our way to find the Mist Dragon, then yeah, column 5 might be the one to go for.
You say that, but that white shirt and black shirt at the same time, I think every one of our racers has found that white robe. The black shirt, I'm not sure anyone has seen one other than Xyrak, and I'm not sure where he found it, come to think of it. And of course, is almost instantly to prove us wrong, keddril does complete the 1,000 gold and 5 chests, and 2 of them are in the barren waterway. There's one in the little 3 chests at the start, and there's one in the big looping room with the secret passages. So 2 of your 5 right there if you're paying attention and keeping track along your run. So that does leave the diagonals for us, which I think, just based on what we said, neither diagonal has anything too rude in it. The rudest things are probably the top right and bottom left. If you don't find a black shirt, you're not doing the top right. And if you're delaying if you don't do that package check, you're in trouble with the Pally Cecil. Finish talking to Naming Way, on the other hand, easy. We all know where Naming Ways are. Town of Monsters bosses, we know where they are. Everyone's going to be beating Zeromus, Legend and Adamant to Kokol. They're going to both be in key item spots. And level 50 character was pretty much free with the Foo on Hobbs this season. Of course, if you're going for that bottom row, all of a sudden, the bottom left is kind of required anyway. It's kind of tricky. I think we're going to end up seeing a lot of people having to swap up what bingos they're going for when some of the items are just not forthcoming.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder how much the meta element is there with seeing that Xyrak has done the Paladin Cecil thing. Knowing that Paladin Cecil is available probably is making them think, well, it's not at the end of Giant. So if they start thinking and going through their head about what character checks are available, it might start to click that, it's probably behind that package, since that seems to be the only thing else here besides, unless he's found the Earth Crystal and gone through the entire Tower of Zot, which, let's be honest, nobody wants to go through all of Tower of Zot unless they have a very, very good reason to.
Given what we've seen, I think at this point we can do a little process of elimination. So no one has gone up the lower Tower of Babel, so we have a key item spot hanging there. No one has taken the Luca key and gone into the sealed cave, which means that some combination of Earth Crystal and Tower Key are gated by these 2 spots.
And we have our first bingo. Xyrak has collected 10 key items and turned in both tails. So he's got a bingo along the bottom row. Just 2 to go, and he has got this.
Very nicely done. And of course, I don't think anyone has found the actual crystal yet. So we do have some combination of crystal and tower key gated by Lower Babel and Sealed Cave. Sonny's first one here to go into Sealed Cave. We'll have an idea of what lies beyond as soon as he hits this crystal room at the bottom.
Yeah, this could be a particularly important check here, the bottom of Sealed Cave. Seal Cave, one of those places runners really don't like to go through if they have to. It's a very, very long walk down there to the bottom. The one benefit here is if you set up your save files in the right way, you can do some save scumming here. Check in there. If it's not something you want, you can just go ahead and nope on out back to an old save on the overworld. But there's also a boss check here as well as a key item check. And if that's Mist Dragon, that could make that left column a lot more enticing.
Yep. So I think Sony kind of has the advantage when it comes to key item spot checks at this point. Other racers may have a little bit more on the looting and filling squares, but as far as just, the race to getting to Zeromus, Sony definitely has an advantage at this point. And that middle square is required for everyone.
Now, it'll be very interesting to see here if Xyrak is going to continue on down. And yes, looks like he is going to go through Upper Babel here. So what this means is we're going to get a look at the boss in the King Queen Evelyn spot, and it's also going to unlock the Falcon for him, which is one of the vehicles that we need to get all credit for that riding on all vehicles square that's on the left there. And speaking of required bosses, we've got Octomam over here in the Sealed Cave.
Ooh, that is tricky because I think... Yeah, Sony definitely not going to be killing Octomammoth with one tentacle showing, not with the DPS between this Edge and this Edward. So either he just is fully intending to forego that square, or he's overlooked it, one or the other.
Yeah, this is one of the higher level spots boss spots here that Octomam is in. But yeah, with the damage putting out, I don't know.
Nah, one of the things about this spot is that it's really high speed, decent physical attack, and ridiculously high magic attack. But the health is still under 20,000. And let's see, so 3 hits for the first tentacle, then 2 for the second, 2 for the third, 2 for the fourth, 2 for the fifth, 13, 15. I think it takes 17 hits here, and I think, okay. So this is the part where, okay, he's fine. As long as this doesn't get the kill. Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, Sony!
So Sony was doing something very smart there. He was letting both Rydia and Rosa attack with less than the most potent of weapons, which helped get those extra hits in, but it's still a little too much. Edward and Edge just way too strong at that point. And yeah, Sony's looking to just say, forget about it. I'm going to push forward on other rows and columns.
I don't think Sony is interested in that particular spot at all. Looks like Sony's been targeting other rows and columns here. There's not a lot of great stuff nearby that kill Octomam with only 1 tentacle remaining that would make me want to go out of my way to get it if I was targeting something else. That equip 25 different named items on all your party members is kind of an annoying requirement if you want to get that vertical there. And it also includes the loot exactly 1,000 golden chests, which 2 overrunners have done, but is kind of a pain to do if you're not specifically looking for it.
Yeah, JJ found those 1,000 gold chests also while going through the Barren Waterway and just made that easy peasy. But now Sony did actually walk out with the Adamant, heavily implying that he intends to do column 4, row 4, deliver the legend Adamant to Kakol, which actually puts him in great shape for both completing column 4. He's going to get a character with more than 3,000 HP. He doesn't have the Yong, but he has a Kain who should hit it before too late in the game, and finish the seed by talking to Naming Way. Also very easy. You reset after you fight Zeromus, and you're allowed to go do that to wrap up your run. But we do know that unless it's a cheeky Mist Dragon guarding the way, we should find progression at the top of Lower Babel. Something either the Tower Key or the Earth Crystal are the big things we're missing. Of course, if we find, I think it's the Legend Sword up here, then we know that D-Mist is gating the path to the crystal, and I love it.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting twist here, because we've been talking about how that Visit Rydia's mom spot is such a stumbling block for that particular row and column, because there's no guarantee you're going to come across D-Mist very easily. Very likely that D-Mist could be on the moon, in fact. But if that ends up being a gate where they have to find D-Mist in order to complete the seed, that is going to really affect a lot of our runners' routings here.
Oh yeah.
Oof, getting stopped by the woman in Kaipo. We all hate her.
It is Odin up here. A little rude of a fight, but again, relatively low physical and magical at this spot. And given all our adamant armors, I don't think Sony's going to have any difficulty killing this jerk before the big Zentetsu Ken attacks start coming out.
Yeah,
If we have a quick moment right here, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
go
going.
right
Go
ahead.
for it.
Yeah. I just wanted to remind chat and all the viewers here that we are raising funds for Pure Earth. And we have gotten quite a few donations in the past minutes, and that is great. But there is still some way to go, because this run is only taking another little bit less than an hour, and we have a donation goal which is still open for the Nier Automata DLC costume. And Nier Automata is actually the run right after this one, and I'm pretty sure you want to see that costume. So maybe you can do something great for charity, because Pure Earth is an organization dedicated to making our world a cleaner and safer place. And that's a great cause to donate to, because did you know that pollution accounts for more than 3 times deaths than AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined? I bet you didn't, because I didn't either. And if you donate more than $10, you're also eligible for some of the awesome prizes that we have, like a Chibi Robo fan art, a Bingothon mug, which I would love to drink my tea out of, 2 Xbox games, and an original SNES controller. So we really have some awesome prizes for you, and you do something for charity, and you also make us all happy if you gave us a donation, and you could see the DLC costume. We still have $78 to go in less than an hour. It is definitely possible if we're all working together.
Thank you, Zed. We did, by the way, get a vanilla tower key at the top of tower, followed by this elements fight. So D-Mist still hiding out somewhere in the wild, and we'll have to walk down and get rescued from a crumbling bridge. Know exactly what we're leaving Babel with. If it's not the Earth Crystal or the Crystal, we do have to find D-Mist to get the Earth Crystal, and then the Earth Crystal will finally give us the actual crystal for the final fight. Kind of keeping my fingers crossed for that at this point.
Yeah, this is make or break time. This is gonna find out how rude this seed really is. That it's already rude enough putting the tower key in its vanilla location. Many runners do not like going into the tower without the tower key in hand, because then you can only make 1 key item check instead of 2. So that being where the tower key is kind of trolly, honestly.
Absolutely. Keddril finally going to be following in the footsteps of JJ and Xyrak, climbing ordeals. This will, of course, give him his wyvern. And I believe he took the time to pick up that Cecil from the package, so he'll also finally be linking up with Xyrak on row 5, column 1.
Yeah, the really nice thing about this is when Cecil turns into a paladin, gets reset to level 1, and since he has those 10 key items, he's getting double experience from everything, so he has the potential to really slingshot Cecil up to a massively high level in no time at all.
Also, I love that casual 4 adamant armor sitting in Keddril's inventory.
It's the Earth Crystal!
All right, well, we are down to, I believe, only 2 unseen key items. Of course, there is still something up on ordeals that Sani's not gotten. He's really hoping to see a Cecil here. If Cecil is the duplicate in this seed, that's great news for Sani. It means he can get it through this path without having to turn in the package. But we'll have to wait and see what lies up here. And of course, if Mist Dragon is up here, that's even better news for Sani Wrath, just in case it is getting our crystal.
Yeah, right you are. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that means that the key item here is either the crystal or it's not. And if it's not, then definitely behind D-Mist, correct?
Right. And if it is not the crystal, I'm pretty sure this is the legend sword, if I've not missed anything, which means that Sony does get to do that delivery check at 4,4, and that's not shabby either. So either way up here, It's going to be great information. I dare say it might be better for Sonny if this is not the crystal. Just because it means everyone else also has to go on a demist hunt.
Yeah, that's probably the best position Sonny would be in, is if the crystal is gated behind the demist, because that's going to, like you said, that's going to trigger a hunt for everything. It's going to throw everybody's plans into array. All these carefully laid considerations about the bingo board and routing are just kaput, and we are like back to zero on that front. And our first boss is the Baron Guards. So, not a hard fight by any stretch of the imagination, especially since, if desired, they can have status effects put on them. But that's one fewer boss that could be demist. We'll see who's sitting in the Valhalla spot here in a second.
And showing off a little bit of their script here, of course, they counter physical attacks with the mini spell, they counter spells with the piggy spell to try to nerf whatever you just hit them with. But with adamant armors in play, a lot of the team not worried about it. They did shrink our back line of mages, though, which is kind of funny.
Thankfully, your mages you're typically not attacking with. I can't remember if the spell actually gives you an evasion bonus in this game or not, or I think it might just be the physical stats down.
Oh yeah, it makes you do significantly less physical and take significantly more physical. That is a Palom here, which is our duplicate this seed. We also saw Palom in the back in the cave Eblana. So we know the only Cecil is behind the package at this point.
Yeah, which means if I am correct, that should be Sid that is on the torture chamber here. Oh no, it's Tella. I forgot about Tella. Wrong old man.
Yeah, there we go. Did we see a Porum yet this seed either?
If we saw a Porum, I don't believe they were taken.
Yeah, I think that because I've seen the Sand Ruby still in our players' inventories, that there is either there's a Sid or a Porum in the Kaipo bed, and then the other one's going to be at the Giant.
Yeah, that makes sense. Big
Mylon
reveal.
Z.
Ooh.
So D-Mist is still out there. Sonny, of course, at this point will kind of be forced to go up Ordeals, where Darkness Crystal, very handy, since we're pretty sure D-Mist is somewhere on the moon or in the Giant.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting item reveal here. This is going to show whether they need to do Keyless Tower into the Tower Key, into Earth Crystal, into Zot, or if it's just a D-Mist hunt, plain and simple.
And there we go. Keddril has joined Xyrak in having completed the bottom row. So first two of our racers to have a bingo. They do have to get a triple bingo to win this race, though. A row, a column, and a diagonal. But there's our first row. Oh, our first row, second player to do so. No one else going for any of these other rows, it looks like.
Yeah, it seems like that's pretty much entrenched. It's the Legend Sword. It's a D-Mist hunt.
I am so happy.
Get hype, chat. You've got some extra free enterprise here tonight.
Oh, I will note, by the way, that JJ has actually gotten perfectly set up to finish with the top row. So JJ will not be worrying about the Pally Cecil, will not be worried about doing a tail hunt. But the thing is, given that it's D-Mist blocking the crystal, I think every one of our racers is going to end up going 17 of 17 on key item checks here.
Oh, most certainly. That's especially since it's looking more and more. Actually, I think I think the only places we have left to check are on the moon, because I believe the hook route was checked. I don't remember what boss was actually on the King Queen Evelyn spot, but
it was the Dark Imps, I believe.
Well, Dark Imps were on Rubicante, I thought. But
oh, you mean sorry. I
no
apologize.
worries.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, it looks like we're gonna have to go spelunking on the moon if we're gonna find D-Mist.
Oh, I love it. Sonny did take a quick peek at the Odin spot, just checking a quick spot to see if it's the D-Mist. Of course, at this point, without Sonny, I believe, just by process of elimination, knows it's the Darkness Crystal on Ordeals. So if he can find a D-Mist without having to go up there, it saves him a ton of time. There we go. Sonny, the only one to have delivered the legend and adamant to Kakol. This puts him in really great shape to finish off that 4th column. Getting a character with more than 3,000 HP. He has a cane, which is guaranteed to have it. Wait, no, he doesn't have a cane. Which character are you going to get 3,000 HP with here, dude?
Ooh, yeah, that's going to be a tricky one.
I'm curious. Let me pull up the stats here. I think it's kind of going to be a contest between his Rosa and his Edge. Rosa is guaranteed to hit 3,000 by level 50, 60. On average, he has it at 58, guaranteed by level 60. Edge, on the other hand, yeah, his was what, 56 when we looked at it earlier?
Yeah, so
it's rude. It's rude either way.
Yeah, it's not something you want to grind to if you don't absolutely have to, especially with the bevy of phenomenal equipment at your disposal. Getting to level 50 in itself isn't terrible, but those levels after level 50 really start to turn into a grind at that point.
Yeah, Baka in chat asking when Cecil gets 3,000. Let's pull up Paladin. Also, I undersold Edge. I think was 58 before he was guaranteed. Cecil is guaranteed 3,000 by level 50. He can hit it as soon as 48, guaranteed by level 50. Excluding apples. Any gold or silver apples our Razor's find cuts those level requirements down significantly.
Of course, with Yang being available on the moon, it wouldn't surprise me if people pick him up specifically. Well, actually no, because not a lot of people would be aiming for that.
I mean, if you go to the moon and pick him up with 10 key items and the slingshot bonus, you do 1 siren on a gold dragon fight. That's 540,000 XP for him. That gets him to 3,000 in a single fight. So it's not that hard to swing, especially because Yang is guaranteed 3,000 by level 42. Yeah, you can do it in one fight.
Yeah. Of course, the problem then becomes, well, if you've done your grind before, do you think to maybe bring Yang in specifically for that if you're aiming for it, or if you're like, no, I'm just going to go aim for a different column, a different row?
I mean, I would do it. I would honestly ditch Rydia at this point. She's not getting nuke until level 55. And this is a party destined for zerking at Zeromus if I've ever seen one.
Oh, absolutely.
I will note that Xyrak was our first racer to ride on all vehicles, including Chocobos. He was the... Oh, it is Miss Dragon here. Huh.
Oh.
Well, how about that?
That changes things.
This is both really good and really bad for Sonny. This means that if Sonny found that pass, which I think he did, he no longer has to do ordeals. He doesn't have to go into the... he doesn't have to spawn the whale. But on the other hand, that makes it kind of tricky for him to get a character with 3,000 HP if that's still on his menu.
Yeah, right you are, because not only are there some great grinding spots on the moon, using sirens to pull out those gold dragons for massive amounts of XP in one fight, but Yang is there, who is very easy to get to that 3,000 HP threshold. So if Sonny is just entirely going to cut the moon out of the equation, this might be a lengthy grind session for him.
Yeah. I will note that Xyrak has not marked off Visit Rydia's mom. I think after he rode on that vehicle, when he unlocked the Falcon, he immediately decided to get his grind on. And of course, the more time he spends doing this, the more likely he is to forget that he needs to do that. That is, of course, where the crystal is, and it will be a little sad and a little funny if he neglects that. It is kind of standing out there, kind of encircled by all these wonderful colors on the left side of the bingo board. So maybe you don't overlook it. Like, it's just kind of screaming, visit Rydia's mom, visit Rydia's mom.
Yeah. And JJBlu taking down Octomammoth, not interested at all in the one tentacle remaining challenge there, just wants to get through and move on. But now has the adamant as well, and that is one step closer to finishing that objective. If JJBlu does end up heading to Zot and getting a Legend Sword.
Yeah, there may be a little bit of metagame also that activates here. Like, when the other racers see, theoretically, that Sonny and Xyrak have ridden on all vehicles and have visited Rydia's mom, and then quite possibly Markov defeats Aromas shortly after that, it may kind of say, hey, D-Mist is right before the Falcon, and that's where your crystal is. Layers upon layers. So just to recap, we do have 2 racers who have a horizontal bingo. Xyrak actually has his vertical one as well, having visited all 8 crystal rooms for his finale. Kind of missed him marking that off after he had done the upper Tower of Babel. So Xyrak only needs a diagonal, but a diagonal requires defeating Zeromus. Xyrak's got to get that crystal.
Yeah, he's going ahead and doing his grind right now. I'm very curious if that's in preparation to go talk to Rydia's mom, grab the crystal, and go, or just in preparation for, going to the moon, not realizing that's, where he needs to go in order to pick that up. We've got Sonirath marking off Rydia's mom, getting the crystal. That is our first runner with the crystal now.
Yep. He did not, however, mark off all vehicles. Oh, he doesn't have the whale. Ah, okay, that's sneaky. But the visit Rydia's mom will undoubtedly remind Xyrak that that's something to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to put Xyrak in a very, very strong position as soon as he makes that check on Rydia's mom, gets that crystal, and puts him ready to go fight Zeromus.
Oh, and this is another very important bit of meta. Sonny must not have the pass, by the way. Anyone paying attention to the bingo board will know that Sonny visited Rydia's mom without having beaten Wyvern. The moon is gated by Wyvern. So this should tell the other 3 racers Mist Dragon is on the Earth. I mean, Xyrak knows that, obviously, but this will also kind of scream that to JJ and Keddril.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities shooting around here and so much to keep up with, not with what you're doing, but what that board is showing, and just, having to process all of these possibilities, what all these marked off things means, really has got to make this race incredibly intense for our runners.
Yeah. Sonny not having found the pass is going to cause him a little bit of trouble. Also, I'm guessing Xyrak did pick up the crystal and just didn't mark it off.
Yeah, it's beginning to look like that because he is making the move on Zeromus here.
Yeah. So clearly visited Rydia's mom, did not mark it off.
Yeah, and that's probably just a byproduct of just tunnel visioning on, those objectives that you want to do, those objectives you want to get knocked out of the way to complete your own personal bingo quest here. That visiting Rydia's mom just does not factor into his plans at all, so he's just not even thinking about marking that off.
Or actually, I'm not sure I saw a crystal in his inventory.
Oh dear, this might be interesting. Well, let's find out. It's always that terrible moment. We've all done it. Anybody who is free enterprise has done it. And if they tell you they haven't, they're a liar.
The only square he needs is defeat Zeromus. And he's done a lot this seed, but he's not gotten I don't think he's gotten the crystal. I think this is about to be one of my favorite things to see any racer do. Bless him. Bless him, Moon. But it's up. There's the reset.
Okay. Oh, we didn't get to see the confused infant.
Unfortunately, he does remember. Okay.
Yeah, he knows exactly where it is. Yeah, head in there.
Yeah. This means he's not going to be taking all those other paths. A little sad that Sonny apparently did not get the get that pass in Feymarch. But yeah, Xyrak's in great shape here. He will be showing us whose butt we're kicking tonight. I think I normally we'd say that when we're taking the pass path, but we had to take a reset. But Xyrak, far and away in the lead right now.
If we have just a very quick moment, I just see that my host successor has signed on, and I will give the word over to Palmy because I am dead tired and I really need to go to bed. Best of luck to your commentators, you're doing a really great job. And chat and viewers, please don't forget, donate. We are really raising money for a great cause, and the next bid war for Nier Automata is... Well, you don't have much time left to get the remaining $78 in, and you can get some amazing prices. But other than that, I will leave the word for the donations over to Palmy. So say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Great. So I hope that you will have a great time, and I will say good night, everybody. Bye.
Thank you,
Good night.
Tim5, again for checking in. Really appreciate it, man. Have a good night, brother.
Well, Palmy, you're here just in time to see the Zeromus fight. And Xyrak has taken the seed by the horns at this point. I am a little surprised that Xyrak kind of assumed that the crystal would be there. I mean, you're definitely going to go do that before you go up a single dip tower if you've already found Mist Dragon. So let's see which sprite we're dealing with. Of course, everything's randomized except the Zeromus script in this game, more or less. Running into Zeromus at an early boss spot would be no fun, and the fight is kind of a test in and of itself. So this is going to be a one of our little favorite things in Free Enterprise, the Z flag.
Yeah, the Zeromus fight has some very, very specific breakpoints to hit. So yeah, randomizing it wouldn't make much sense, and it serves as a very great capstone to the end to make sure that you have done everything you need to build a well-rounded party, and that is Queen Shrubimus.
Which of the Mario RPG games is this one from again?
This is Mario and Luigi Partners in Time.
Partners in Time. Gotcha.
I kind of forgot that you actually could have these customs in here. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, one of everyone's favorite things. And with the actual 4.0 beta, it is finally a default flag. You don't have to go in and manually do it. This is assumed to be the way that everyone wants their seeds. Everyone feels a little bad when they forget to randomize their Zeromus sprite, and they're like, oh, I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, there are a couple, I can't remember the exact total, but there are a couple hundred of these Zeromus sprites in there. Many of them done by community member Scala Kitty, who goes in and painstakingly rips the sprites, makes them able to work in the actual Final Fantasy IV ROM. So wonderful job done by her. It's just a really, really fun way to close out any given Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise seed.
Absolutely. And after the beta gets pushed live, there will be well over 400 sprites in the pool in total.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. Is there any way that we can actually get that link into the chat so if anybody wants to check out just the sheer amount of awesome that is packed in that? Is there a good link for that?
Yeah. In fact, rather than just link the standard flags which the racers are using, I'm going to link to the beta flag set generation. This is the future of Free Enterprise. This is all the new content that the developer board face has been working on for the last year or so. Lots of new options available, and pretty soon, hopefully it'll go into full release. We'll get new Zeromus sprites, new Twin Harp songs, all kinds of goodies.
Yeah, and one of the major features of this new beta that's probably the most exciting to me is that you can set custom objectives for both beating the seed and uncovering the crystal that are, seem somewhat inspired by bingo objectives. So you can set up things like having to defeat specific bosses, having to recruit specific characters, visit certain places, and those all of those have to be fulfilled in order to finish a given seed. So it's very, very exciting to mess around with that kind of thing.
That is awesome.
And Xyrak here going to have very few problems with this Shrubimus fight. We found plenty of adamant armors. That Cecil, that Edge, and that Edward all have ridiculously great weapons on. I believe that Edge is rocking a couple of ninja blades. Cecil has an Excal. Eddie swinging that spoon for 6,000 damage. This is going to be pretty easy Zerkfest, and then everything will be good to go for Xyrak. So he's not done yet, but feel free to get your GGs queued up. Xyrak's going to be taking this home very soon.
Yeah, and just kind of a comment on the strategy he's employing here. The Berserk spell is one of the most useful spells in Final Fantasy IV, not just because it increases the damage that you deal, but because it automatically puts your commands in. It helps clog that ATB system so that your characters are getting more turns compared to the enemy. And right, just like that, Shrubimus is down. Xyrak is our winner. GG's to Xyrak.
GG to Xyrak. Thank you guys for just playing this so... Oh man, I'm at a loss for words. This is one of the more entertaining runs I have seen, and just having you guys be as enthusiastic as you are is just awesome. I cannot thank you guys enough for coming in for a commentary, because I am always looking forward to seeing Inevitable in comms. It just makes my day every single time.
Thank you. Smateby also kills it. We had a blast doing this last year. Anytime I get paired with him for a community or a tournament race, we always have a fun time. I am wondering, by the way, did Sonny... why is Sonny in the Giant, do you think, Smape? Is he just trying to get levels easily by fighting these high XP bosses? Or is there...
It might have been a check, because I know I've done this where if I am, in the Giant for whatever reason checking for things, he could be checking for bosses. But yeah, if you check that the boss that's normally the elements that you would fight, the 4 elemental fiends in succession on the bridge in the Giant, if it happens to be a free fight, which this is, King Queen Evelyn, it's got a story trigger that automatically wins. That is one of the highest XP yielding spots in the entire game. So you might have seen it right there flash by. He got over 200,000 experience just for sitting there and watching a storyline trigger happen. So yeah, it's always worth it to just go in and check just to see, is there something worth picking up here? And yeah, looks like there was a ton of XP there.
Yeah, and especially if Sonny did not find those sirens that everyone else found. Sirens, for the curious, they are one of those Japanese exclusive items that have been added back into the game. It summons the rarest encounter on the field in whatever location you are. It's used to summon a wide variety of grind fights. If you don't find those, you have to kind of take backup strats, and it looks like that's what Sonny may be going with here. He may be trying to find Cecil. He may just be trying to get 3,000 HP on his edge. Looking at his bingo board, he could definitely get his column from that have a character with more than 3,000 HP, and he could get his row from visiting Mount Ordeals of Pally Cecil. So that looks to be what he's looking for. Of course, we know that this is going to be either Porum or Sid, right? I'm guessing it's Sid, because I could see everyone skipping out on a Porum in the Kaipo bed.
I kind of hope that it's Sid, especially if he's going for that 3k HP thing, because Sid has an immense HP growth. So if it's Sid here, he can just throw him in his party, get a few levels on him. He'll get slingshotted because of the bonus he has for having 10 or more key items, and Sid will very, very quickly hit that 3k HP threshold.
And we're going to see if we can get Xyrak in for an interview shortly. Hitting up the admins to see if we can get him pulled on in to the voice chat. Sonny, meanwhile, dealing with this evil wall here. The 2 spots in the game with the highest physical attack are this CPU location and the Bahamut spot. Evil wall is being a little rude here. Thank goodness for adamant armors.
Oh, and if I can direct your attention down to keddril screen, count the tentacles.
Hey, down to 1.
Hey! Nice.
So that gives keddril the Killock Mammoth with only 1 tentacle showing. No one else has gotten that one. Looking at the columns here, here's the dilemma for keddril. Keddril may have been kind of hoping to do that middle column rather than column 2. But keddril's gonna have to go through the Upper Babel crystal room in order to get the actual crystal. I guess conceivably you could fight Mist Dragon at the King Queen Upland spot and then just backtrack the entire way, but that's probably not the optimal situation here.
Yeah, he's gonna get that second column completed, whether he wants it or not.
In the meantime, we are joined by Xyrak. GG Xyrak.
Thanks, Invin. Appreciate it.
So just generally, whenever you have the bingo board at the start of a seed, I know you have your initial strategy, and you have to kind of change things up based on what you find, what you run across.
Yeah.
What were some of the big turning points that seed for you?
Early black-white shirt was like, okay, I know, like, the 2 diagonals really seemed like there's some stuff on either one that's not necessarily all that depending on what's going on. So early black-white shirt, I was like, okay, I have that lower left to upper right diagonal taken care of. The bottom row in this card is like insanely good. So I was like, okay, now I just have to figure out which column I'm gonna wind up working out. And I was worried I was gonna have to deal with that after 30 minutes, have no inventory and old thing. But then column kind of all came together pretty much all at once. So I was like, all right, we're in there now. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and also, I believe you were the first of our racers to actually make the package check, which finding that Cecil did you a world of good. I think that Sonny Wrath just completed the Giant, even though he already has the Crystal and Zeromus access. We think he may be trying to find either that Cecil to complete his bottom row, and a character with 3,000 HP to complete the 4th column. So may have forgotten that the package is an option that would kind of help with both those tiles.
Maybe. He was saying in our voice chat that he knew where Cecil was, so that may be my process of elimination. Now that he's done the giant, may have been what he meant.
Okay. Or he could have thought that the giant was the only spot he had left. The also a possibility.
Right.
Did you do any interesting metagaming? Like you see one of your competitors mark off a tile and you think, or tiles at similar moments and you think, okay, that's somewhere I need to check. It's probably in, like, this check is probably readily available in this location.
Not really, because of that, getting that black and white shirt square out of the way. When Sonny checked off the turn in both tails, that was like, that's a little concerning. But like, I'm on my way to start just clearing the key item spots out now anyway, so hopefully it doesn't take me forever to find these things, and it didn't. I found them very shortly afterwards. So.
Gotcha. Do you know if there's any timetable on Bingo being adapted for the version 4.0 that'll be coming out soon?
It's one of the things that we're discussing. Unfortunately, Hom basically permanently disposed in IRL stuff. Author of the card. So I'm sure once gets that part sorted out, we'll be able to get it up.
I did want to ask you one thing, Xyrak. When you got through the teleporter to Zeromus, what made you think, oh snap, I don't have the crystal?
I was thinking, like, okay, so I'm gonna be on RA2, so I'm not. Who's gonna get to use the crystal first? And then I was like, use the crystal first. Wait a minute. Hang on.
We were a little sad we didn't get to see the panicked inventory shuffle, but
right. Yeah.
Well, Xyrak, beautifully done. Sub 90 minutes on a bingo seed with this many places to check and do. Any final thoughts about it before we go back to watching our other racers finish this up?
Yeah, no, I like I said, I know I've said it like times, but finding the shirt that I could stop looting a lot earlier and I could focus on key item checks. So that's really, really lucky that like one of the armor shops I checked early had the black shirt in it, find the white one in Silvera very shortly after. So yeah, that was a lot involved in it for sure. But I'm glad it went well and that I managed to play well enough to take it to it.
Well played, Xyrak. Congratulations on your place finish, and thanks so much for playing for us tonight. It was really awesome to watch you.
Perfect. Thanks. A big thank you to both you and Invenerable for doing commentary for us, and thanks to you to Bingothon for having us.
Hey, anytime. We were so happy to actually have you as a runner. You were one of the more hype ones I've seen in quite a while for the Final Fantasy runs. It is seeing one of you guys come on always makes my day because there's very few people who play the Final Fantasy game, let alone people who play it well like you guys do. So thank you for stopping by and participating in our event.
Absolutely.
Speaking of our event, if you guys want to go ahead and throw in your donations now, we have several incentives that are still able to be filled, including a couple of other bids that'll be up I can read after the fact. Also keep in mind that I still have an incentive that I don't believe has been met yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, any of my other mods that are in here. I also still have, I believe it is a $200 incentive for me to do a endgame bingo of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That is still up for grabs for $200 donation. There are a couple others. I'm still getting some of my stuff up here, so I can't read all of them quite yet, but that doesn't mean you can't go ahead and help Pure Earth with saving the Earth. So get those donations in, and we'll let our awesome commentators keep eyeballing what they got here.
Hey, thanks, Palmy. We do have JJ here in the Shrewbomus fight. That will take care of the middle tile, and then, of course, eventually, JJ will be able to just talk to Naming Way to finish off that top left to bottom right diagonal. Still not having a row completed, though. Oh, Naming Way clears that as well. So, going to end up having completed the top row, top left to bottom right diagonal, and then the fourth column, JJ is in great shape to take second place this race.
Yeah, very interesting here that JJ wanted to get the boss out of the way talking about it. But you know what? I'm not one to question anybody's routing decisions here.
Well, finish, for purposes of the free enterprise bingo, finish talking to Naming Way doesn't just mean have the conversation. It means that has to be the last thing you do on the seed.
Oh, I see.
yeah.
I misunderstood it. Okay.
Yeah, so can't mark that off unless it's your very final tile.
Gotcha. That makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that JJ also either found a black shirt or actually made it a point to check armor shops. That's done JJ a world of good, not having to hunt down that Pally Cecil. We saw him getting his crystal without having to activate the package cutscene, so definitely saves JJ a bit of time as well. Looking to have a very clean second place once this boss is dead and we get a little name change conversation.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see that JJ, if he gets this down, which it looks like he should, not having too much trouble at all with this Aromas fight. How much different his path to completing this bingo card was as opposed to Xyrak. Despite them finishing relatively close to one another, it's very interesting that they still managed to get these relatively close times despite a pretty different strategy and approach to it all.
Oh yeah, completely different row, completely different column, completely different diagonal. So
yeah, he really went on a different way, that's for sure.
Yeah. Lots of options. Just depends a little bit on the luck, a little bit of what you're comfortable with. And it's worked out great.
Yeah, and I think the major difference between the runners here has been whether they went to check that package or not. Half of our, two of our runners have the Paladin Cecil, 2 didn't. And that seems to be like the major differentiator between them is, whether you're going to get that bottom left square or not from having a Paladin in your party.
And good news for Sonny Wrath, taking down that double dragon fight, I believe is going to put his edge over the 3,000 HP mark. Didn't have a lot to go. Boom, there is that tile for Sonny. I think he's ready to go fight Zeromus and finish things off as well. Is he missing anything that... Oh, he'll still have to go talk to Naming Way as well, but won't be too much of a problem once the Zeromus fight's over.
Yeah, and the nice thing is he is already in position to go right to Zeromus from here. Saving right there at the final save point before the Lunar Core, so he can just walk to Zeromus, do the fight, and then take care of his Naming Way business afterwards. Keddril here, though, still hunting, but on the right track, about to go finish the boss in the King Queen Evelyn spot. That's going to give him the Mist Dragon and then the Rydia's Mom check, which will give him the crystal. And JJBlu taking a wipe to Zeromus.
No, JJ killed Zeromus.
Oh, killed Zeromus, excuse me. I just saw the reset out of the corner of my eye. My mistake.
There we go. And now JJ has talked to Naming Way, has finished up with about a 138.45 it looked like. Maybe can get a better time from his timer. But GG's to JJ coming in second. Did say earlier he would not be joining us for an interview. He is a very sleepy boy and needs to go to bed.
I can concur. Being a very sleepy boy means you probably won't have a whole lot to say other than I love you all, thank you, and goodbye. That's probably all he'd want to give.
Yeah, I think he said he was on 1 hour of sleep at the start of this race, so we will.
Oh golly.
Yeah, we won't force him to do anything that he's not inclined to do. Keddril, meanwhile, has defeated D-Mist. One thing I will note is that JJ, although did complete the Visit Rydia's Mom tile, that's where the crystal was, forgot to mark it off, but I think Keddril fully understands where that crystal is at this point, just has to decide which way is faster, walking out or fighting these dinguses, and I think the dinguses have it.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, I honestly think this is the right play, because even if he would still have to walk all the way out or use the warp spell to get back to Cave Evelyn before he could exit. So yeah, considering how easy this fight is and how little you have to walk down to get to the Falcon, I think this is probably the smarter play here to just push on through.
Yeah, he's using the Fatal Spell with Fu, which the Dark Imps don't have the boss bid. You can stop them, you can Fatal them. As long as Fu didn't miss, you could even hit them with a multi-target Stone or Break spell, and it would also end the fight instantly. So, not going to take long to chew through this fight, and then just pick up that crystal and go. Team looks good.
And meanwhile, we were talking about how late Rydia learns spell. Like the most important thing for a black mage to have going into the end game. You see over on Xyrak's screen, Rydia obviously not that high level, just throwing a virus over its shrewdness and the kind of pathetic damage it does in comparison. It's one of those reasons why Rydia is a kind of not someone you can really rely on in the end game.
Yeah, she's a fan favorite, but she has really low HP growth. She gets nuke, even if you're not using J spells, where she learns nuke at level 50. Her XP curve is so bad that her level 50 takes more XP than Palom's level 52. Now, of course, Rydia, it can be very gear dependent. The tiara is a huge piece of black magic gear that Palom can't wear. He doesn't want to be cute. But and rolling the life 1 on the Asura summon, such bad luck. So yeah, Rydia definitely benefits more from high loot seeds, where you can find Bahamut and Leviathan summons early. You can get Stardust Rods and Tiaras and Rune Rings, whereas Palom just gets the good spells sooner and a little more HP.
Yeah, there are some unconventional setups you can use with Rydia that make her a little more easier to use in the end game. One of my favorites is the Warrior Princess Rydia setup, where you get things like the Heroine Robe, which changes any of the female mages into essentially fighters. It gives them nerfs all of their mental stats and buffs all their physical ones. You can then throw something like a Dragon Whip on her. She can actually wear the Zeus Gauntlet, which is one of the best melee accessories. After she grows up, she can wear that. And you can actually get some decent physical damage out of her, especially throwing Berserk on her and clogging up that ATB queue. It's something to keep in mind if you've got the gear for it.
Absolutely. Keddril, meanwhile, has procured his crystal. I'm pretty sure he has found one of those passes and probably just needs to... Oh, where are we going? I guess Keddril may want to do a little more of a grind. Let's also check his bingo situation. We know Sani just needs to finish his fight and talk to Naming Way. Keddril has the bottom row. Fourth column, it looks to be on the menu. Needs one more level on Cecil to hit 3,000.
Yeah, very, very close there.
Yeah, missed it by that much.
Yeah, shame Zeromus doesn't give XP.
Yeah, I know. And then let's see, for the green, yeah, defeating Zeromus and talking to Naming Way will Keddril. Yeah, there's 3,000 on Cecil. So Keddril, in the same boat as Sani, has to beat Shroobimus and talk to Naming Way. If Keddril has the pass, we might have a pretty close finish on our hands here.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see where he beelines to. I can't remember if... Oh, he does have the pass. I just saw it in his inventory. This is very...
Oh, yeah.
And putting that, making use of that cursed ring, it looks like trying to get, do some agility manipulation. You want to briefly touch on that, Invenerable?
Yeah. So with the very early incarnation of the ATB system, to kind of make fights have a common tempo throughout the game, Vanilla bases it all on Cecil's agility. Takes his agility, does a comparison of it to your other characters, to the monster's base agility, and that kind of determines, so Edge will be faster than Cecil, so he'll be a little faster in combat. Rydia will be a little slower. Some bosses will be significantly faster. Behemoth fights on the moon will be significantly slower, so on and so forth. Free Enterprise makes it to where we usually just use flags that base it off whoever's in your middle slot. And if you know what you're doing, you can manipulate this to get a whole lot of extra turns at the Zeromus fight. Zeromus's base agility is 69, so you have these breakpoints of 1 to 27 puts Zeromus at relative 1, 28 to 41 relative 2. Oh no, Sani takes a wipe. Keddril's back in this.
Yeah, this just became a real race.
And so basically the gist of it is that if you can have a character with really low agility in your middle slot, you're going to be getting so many more turns than Zeromus, you'll have an easy... If you have a character with agility a little below a breakpoint, you're going to be seeing a very fast Zeromus relative to your team and have a worse time. Of course, if you have 4 adamant armors like Keddril does, you probably don't have to worry about it.
And just as you were mentioning, we saw Sonirath switching around a couple characters in their party, maybe thinking that same thing, because I believe he had Edge in his center spot, which, as you mentioned, having a high agility character there is going to give Zeromus a higher relative agility. Edge, one of the highest agility characters in the game, but of course swapping with Edward, who is also another very high agility character.
Yeah, I think what Sonny ran into there was it looked like his Edge had an agility of 60, and given that Rosa, if she's not wearing an adamant armor, is probably around 25 or so, means that you're going to have a hard time getting her Cure 4s off whenever Zeromus lands, Big Bang and Nuke pretty much consecutively.
Yeah, of course, if you're like me and when you're playing numbers confuse and scare you, I just remember 28 good, 27 bad.
Yes, 28 good, 27 bad. That's a great rule of thumb. Keep that in mind, especially here we're doing a lot of zerking because we have the gear and the characters for it. When you're doing spell casting at the Zeromus fight, reflecting spells, worried about nerfing Big Bangs, all of a sudden 28 is really a sweet spot to have on your middle character's agility. Ooh! Shrewdmas coming out with a powerful nuke on Fu out the gate.
Yeah, this is this Shrewdmas doesn't want to go down easy.
Yeah, Shrewdmas is not playing around.
Yeah, now the reason that our runners are sort of evoking that early nuke there, Shrewdmas will use nuke as a counterattack to any magic cast on it. And the reason they're doing that is because Shrewdmas will voluntarily lower its magic attack in order to use that counterattack. It was the way the developers could make the Big Bang threatening, but still be able to do the nuke counterattacks without it just completely wiping whoever hits it. But it won't actually reset until after the Big Bang goes out on that first one. So if you do the flare, you're going to get a Big Bang that is nerfed and does substantially lower damage than it ordinarily would.
Absolutely. Just as a point of reference, a Big Bang's base damage, depending on when you are in the boss script, it can do a maximum of either 2,400 damage or 2,700 damage, depending on which one it is. If you correctly do the nerf, the most it can do is 1,200 damage. So, better than half. Great technique to have, especially if you're doing this with lower HP characters, or if you're just scared of that, painful high roll that comes out sometimes.
Yeah, but it's a very difficult trick to pull off past the first phase. The first phase, based on the way Zeromus' script is set up to reset its magic attack, you can get that counter nuke whenever you'd like, and the first Big Bang is guaranteed to be nerfed. After that, you have to make sure you're doing it within a certain frame of number of ATB ticks before the Big Bang hits, or it'll be able to reset its magic attack before the Big Bang, and then you'll just have to take the nuke and a full power Big Bang. So it's a very difficult strategy to get the timing down just right.
Yeah, and if you mess up, there are also spells, notably summon spells, draw virus counters during certain phases of the fight. And if you draw one of those at a bad time, you can actually increase the power of the Big Bang to do, I believe, either a max of 3,000 or 3,300 damage. It's never fun to accidentally make your team suffer even worse.
Yeah, Big Bang already hurts enough. There's no need to put any more. Rocks are falling. That's a signal we're in phase 3, the third and final phase. Keddril on the verge of taking third place here.
Yeah, still has to exit and go talk to the naming way. Shouldn't be too difficult though. Keddril did have the pass and is looking to give him a chance to come back from behind, although Sonny did have that early advantage.
There's the flash. We should see the reset here in just a second.
Runs back into town. Where's the Hummingway here? Where's the Hummingway? Oh yeah, we had to talk to 5 earlier. I'm pretty sure Keddril knows where the Hummingway is. And there we go.
Bam.
Keddril has taken third. Get your GGs out in chat. We'll see if Keddril wants to come in for an interview in just a moment, and Sonny shouldn't be too far behind him.
Yeah, that is a big upset there. Sonny going into that Zeromus fight ahead of Keddril by a good margin, but yeah, just taking that wipe. And Zeromus is just a really, really nasty final boss. Nothing is ever for sure when it comes to Zeromus. Fortunes can turn very, very quickly.
Funny thing, and I'm going to ask Keddril about it, is I think all of them had rolled a seed for this and not looked at it, and I think this was Keddril's. I'm gonna double check that when he's in here with us, but if so, I can't wait to see his thoughts on what he created for the crew.
And there's another big bang there for Sonny on Nerf. But there's the Meteo. Doesn't get managing to heal out between them. That can usually be devastating. Two of his characters dodge the Meteo, though. Should be able to recover from that and finish. That is a big fortunate thing to happen there.
Yeah, and Edge has tons of HP. There goes Shroobomus. Still has to get back to Earth and do the naming way talk, though, or go to the cave and find the correct one there. Meantime, we are joined by Keddril. Keddril, was this the seed that you rolled for the group? Did y'all go with yours?
No, this is the one that JJ did.
Oh, JJ made this one. Gotcha.
Yeah, I actually had a little error in mine. Mine, I had the pass in the shops where it's supposed to be in the chest, so it was incorrect anyways.
Well, heck of a seed with that kind of rudely located D-Mist holding the crystal. What was your plan?
That was horrible.
What was your plan and your strategy with?
For everybody in chat.
Yeah, we were all hoping for a moon one. We were kind of sad when it ended up being on Earth. And there's Sonny getting wrapped up too. We'll see if we can get Sonny in as well.
My original strategy was to find that black shirt. Fortunately, it seems like it was in the only armor shop that I never checked.
Yeah, that was Xyrak said that was kind of key for how he chose to route. Like, he wasn't sure which diagonal to take, and then found that in a shop, and that made a lot of difference for him.
Yeah, so where I had seen that Xyrak checked it off so early, that was sort of my plan, like to go for that one. So I started bouncing out of the crystal rooms and like not going to ordeals, specifically waiting for Paladin Cecil. And then it just turns out that I did not luck out on that. I ended up finding 5 adamant armors. So that was something, I guess.
You were actually to the Zeromus fight after Sonny, but having that pass to let you get there instantly. And Sonny had a little rough time at the Zeromus fight. Do you want to talk about what you think went wrong with your first attempt?
Not enough healing, literally. I thought I had white, which I was going to try to bounce that to expedite phase 2. I didn't have white, and by the time I queued up my heal, or would have queued up my heal, it more than likely would have been too late. So I just parried instead of actually trying it, and it just killed me in the end.
Just bad luck with the heal timing. Well, y'all definitely made it an exciting finish between the two of you.
Only race down to the clock there.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Sonny, there was a pass in the town of Summon Monsters that if you had that, you take that by such a huge margin. In fact, you don't even have to do ordeals if you find that pass. So just that one tiny bit of bad luck, I think, swung things for you from second to fourth.
I had the pass actually, but I needed to get a character to 3,000 HP in order to finish column 4. That was why I went to the moon instead.
Gotcha. We were wondering about that. Like, we thought you were doing the giant for the XP, but then walking the moon just threw us off here in the commentary booth a little bit. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I did do the giant for XP as well because I, for some reason, didn't check shops for hourglasses because beta. Playing that kind of got me used to not checking shops for hourglasses. So yeah, that hurt a lot, especially when I went up against the King Ryus, because I forgot how much Blitz actually hurts from them.
Oh yeah, the advanced free enterprise with all the restricted J items all of a sudden definitely gets you in a different mindset from these version 3 flags. Absolutely.
Yeah, which I guess leads me into sort of a question for both of you. Playing as a lot of has been going on with the beta, usually with adamant armors off and hourglass is not available. How much was it? Was it any kind of bit of a culture shock, sort of going back to sort of the old school way of doing things?
Yes.
No. I haven't played the beta.
Oh, well, there you go.
It was a massive shock finding 3 adamant armors in the seed, even though one of which I did get from turning in the pink tail. But having 2 that I found in chests that I'm like, These chests shouldn't contain adamant armors. Definitely threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I ended up having the 5 adamants there, and I had to cripple my foo for the Zed fight. But now that Bingo's over, I can switch over to the beta and see what everybody's crying about.
Well, it certainly wasn't a bad seed to have that many adamants available that early, especially with Ordeals having back-to-back Wyvern and Golbez. Like that would have been painful under without having those adamants around.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding there.
Well, that was a fantastic run, guys. So I really thank all of you guys for coming out here this late in the evening, depending on where you are in the world. Really appreciate having you guys here on Bingothon here in the Winter Edition. Really, man, I'm just at a loss for words. It's been a fun day for everyone. Great runs. That close bit at the end was really entertaining to watch. I was trying to get a clip and failed miserably to get it, so I tried. That was pretty cool. But yeah, we really thank you guys for having me on here, and we would love to see you guys again next year. We would really love that.
Of course. I just want to say thank you to the hosts and to Smapey and Invenerable for doing the commentary.
Yes, thank you all very much. Inven, Smape D, always great commentators for the game, and I definitely have to say thanks to my fellow racers.
I agree.
Hey, thanks for having us. GG's to all you racers. Good luck to everyone else doing bingos this weekend. And yeah, I'm gonna dip out. Thanks everyone again. Donate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Go on.
Been a pleasure. We broke the 420 meme curse, so yes, the donations can flood in. You're not ruining any jokes.
Excellent. Sweet. Our little break room here. Chat, do be sure to hit your refresh button as we're going to be restarting the stream here shortly. So if things don't seem to be working properly, go ahead and hit that F5 key or your refresh button now to make sure things are going.